22S Radio's 22smedia.com and 88.1 KKJZ HD3 Long Beach, Los Angeles. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Golden Spotlight. I'm your host, Rob Flores, and if this is your very first time listening to the show, the Golden Spotlight is a biography interview show where I interview a different guest each episode and have them share their story. So at this time, I would like my guest to please introduce himself.
Hi, my name is Luke Alexander, and I am a YouTuber from Australia. I do commentary videos and critique and reaction videos about like influencers, internet culture, pop culture, really anything that interests me on the internet. I'm just all about being opinionated. Yeah, that's pretty much a little bit about me.
Cool. So the first thing I like to do is I like to start off in the beginning, and it's pretty much childhood, life growing up. Did you grow up with siblings?
Yeah, so I grew up with two sisters, and then later on in my life, my mom had my two brothers with another man. So I have two brothers and two sisters, and I'm the second oldest.
Oh, cool. And so starting off with elementary, what was elementary school like?
It was rough. I went to an all-boys private school, and I'm not like the most masculine guy, so I did get bullied a little bit, but I found my love for like art and acting and just using my voice there. I did a lot of speech and drama and stuff like that, along with all the other sports that I was forced to do, because at an all-boys private school, you kind of like have to do every single sport. But yeah, other than that, it was okay. It was like one of those things where it's like, Kelly Clarkson says, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
What is that like, the structure?
So I'm from South Africa, and in South Africa we have like primary school, which is just like grade 1 to grade 7. But at this school we had prep, which I guess would be like your middle school kind of thing, and then elementary before. So the structure of it was pretty Americanized actually for this private school, but because it was an all-boys private school, things were a little bit different and a lot stricter in the sense that like it was a religious school, so you had to go to the chapel, you had to do religion class, you had to do a different sport every semester. Like it was very, very strict on what you had to do. There wasn't a lot of freedom in terms of choice when it came to your subjects. So it was very strict.
Uh-huh. And you did that for all the grades, or?
No, I just did that for grade 3, 4, and 5, and then I moved back to back to a co-ed public school just because I was not enjoying it. I much preferred being in like the public school system where it was like less pressure, less strict, and then from that point onwards, I just always stuck to public schools.
So the first school that you were in, how did you cope with dealing with bullies and stuff like that?
I didn't really. I tried making friends and stuff, but it was just like a very difficult, tumultuous time. To be honest, I've like blocked a lot of it out. But my gran would force me to go to like therapy and stuff because she thought I had like issues when really I was just being bullied. So I didn't deal with it too well, and that's why I ended up just leaving the school because I didn't know how to deal with it. It just was a bit relentless.
The transition to the other type of school, what was that like?
I'd actually been going to the school beforehand, so I went to the school in grade 1 and 2, and then I moved to the private school, and then I went back to the school. So people already knew me at the school, so it wasn't too difficult of a transition. And I've always got on better with girls anyway, so now that I was at like a co-ed school, I could have friends that were girls, which I felt was better for me.
Yeah, I think I could relate totally also about the whole getting bullied and stuff throughout. Well, even now, like my voice didn't get deep, so like I always got made fun of, especially up till like 9th grade. My voice was even more high pitched. I was like a chipmunk on helium. So I got bullied big time. What was that like? Also, just the idea of struggling to make friends.
Yeah, not anymore. I'm better now as I've grown up, but I used to be really, really shy and I struggled to make friends. But through clubs, I was able to make friends. So like I would join like chess club, or like I was at an after school care program and try and make friends there. But where I really made friends was through like my speech and drama after club. So I've always done acting and drama and stuff like that. And usually that's where some of the outcasts would go, like the boys who were also bullied as well. So I would make friends with them, and eventually I did make friends. You just kind of got to you kind of have to find a place where people are like-minded to you.
So was high school any different?
Yeah, high school was a lot better because I gained a lot more confidence, but really it was only towards the end of high school where I gained that confidence. So like junior high, I guess you would call it, like grade 9 and 10, I was still like discovering who I was and trying to figure myself out. And then grade 11 and 12 is when I really came into myself. I had made friends, I was getting good grades, I was in really good clubs. I think it just doing drama really helped me become more outgoing and care less about what people think, which is why I recommend people, even if they don't care about acting, do drama because it really helps you with your confidence.
So all those times while you were going through, all the way from public school years and stuff, did you have like favorite things to watch on like TV and stuff like that?
Oh yeah, I was just obsessed with Disney Channel. Like as a kid, I was just obsessed with watching like Hannah Montana, Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. Like I watched a lot of TV as like a form of escapism back then. Drake and Josh, just anything on Nickelodeon or Disney Channel, pretty much. And then later on, when I was like 11, I think, where I was like 10 or 11, I was way too young to be watching it. I started watching The Vampire Diaries, and I was obsessed with that. Is it a favorite show of yours too?
Yes, Elijah's my favorite television character.
Yeah, it's really, really good. And then I got into reading, which was good. Basically, any form of escapism and fiction was great for me during that time.
Ooh, cool. Did you also watch the originals?
Yes, I did watch the originals. Yeah, it's really good. I haven't finished it yet though, because just I don't know why I didn't, but I need to finish it because it was really good.
By any chance, did you get to catch Supernatural?
No, actually, I never got into Supernatural. I should, but I've kind of like got out of like the supernatural phase of my life, and now I'm kind of watching more like crime shows or like mobster shows. I love watching shows where like people just commit crimes because obviously I would never do that. I'm currently watching this show called Good Girls, where these three moms rob a grocery store, and then the grocery store ends up being like a money laundering thing, and then they get stuck in with this gang. So I think it's stuff like that's really interesting to me at the moment.
Have you seen the making of the mob?
No, I haven't. I should. I need to add that to my list. There's so many good movies and TV shows out there that I need to watch. I feel like there's not enough time. Too much to watch, not enough time.
So I find it fascinating also how like in the movies and in TV shows, they have this stereotype where who knows, maybe in some public schools there is certain groups, but like how in the lunch area where you have like the rockers on one side, the band people on another side, the athletes another. Did you have a particular group during lunch?
um, in the schools that I've been to, it's not as specific as it is in the movies. But I would say that I was not part of like maybe like a nerdy group. Like I was very nerdy growing up, and then later on I was probably part of more of like the theater kids group. So yeah, I started off as nerdy and then transitioned into like theater kids, and then now and then I would like be friends with some of the popular people. I was actually like a school captain, which I think is like class president for you guys or something, or
Oh,
vice class president or whatever. So I was kind of friends with a lot of different people, but my main core group was like the theater kids.
cool, cool. Did you get to have any like extracurricular activities even like after school?
Yeah, so I mainly did my acting, and then I also did art. And then for a while, I did like an environmental club thing, but I had a lot of responsibilities being vice school captain. So like I didn't have much time for that, and I was just trying to focus on getting good grades and stuff. So I wasn't in a ton of clubs, but the one that I was in was an acting program, and we did a lot of plays and Eisteddfods and competitions and stuff like that. So that took up most of my time.
So I can relate about the whole getting bullied and being shy and stuff. And I was wondering, like, how did you get from being shy to like being into like speech and because like like getting out of your shell, like how did that happen?
It was 100% like doing drama, because doing drama or acting like helps me not be myself because I was being a different character. and it helped me get out of my bubble so much because you have to do so many different activities that just make you look so ridiculous, like so many different forms of theater, that when you're being ridiculous and everyone else is being ridiculous, it makes you realize that like who really cares, and like who really cares what other people think of you. So for me, it was really acting and drama and just like putting things into perspective, like just realizing and being more mindful of the fact that like nobody thinks about you as much as you think that they do. Like everyone's so hyper focused on themselves that no one's really bothering about what you think. And even if they are judging you, they're probably judging you for such a brief period of time that you might as well just be yourself anyway. It was all just like a learning curve and like being mindful, but I attribute a lot of it to like my drama classes and stuff like that.
And when you were mentioning about how like they would require you each semester to take different classes, like when it came to the drama one, like did you pick it right away, or did someone encourage you to do it, or?
No one encouraged me to do it. I've always liked acting, and my mom was never really forceful about what subjects I did. She just kind of let me do whatever I want. She was like very like go with the flow. So I got to choose whatever subjects I wanted to do, and I just always knew that I was going to choose drama like every single semester, and I did throughout high school.
So like here in high school, in California, like I think there's like um it's like a requirement in order to get your high school diploma, you do like community service. Did you have to do something like that?
No, we don't have to do community service to get a high school diploma. Although we did do some charitable things, like we would go sing Christmas carols at like at like a hospital or like a old age home, or like my school would like do like litter day when we went around and cleaned up trash, or like charity fundraisers and stuff like that. Like we did do charitable things, but it wasn't necessarily a requirement. It's just like if you wanted to do it.
Oh, what was that like going to like the hospitals and stuff?
Yeah, it was good. I don't remember much of the hospital one. I'm trying to remember if I even went to that one, but I do remember the old age home one, and that was really nice, like getting to interact with the senior citizens, because a lot of them had like dementia and stuff, and like I just find like old people very endearing because it's like it's like the end of a life, the start of a life. They have so much wisdom, all that type of stuff. So it was very nice, and it's nice to give back to like the community and stuff like that.
So as your senior year, what was that like?
It was pretty full on because I was just trying my best to get like as good of grades as possible to get into university, because here we have something called like an OP system. Well, we don't have it anymore, where you have to get a certain number to get into a certain degree. And the highest number you can get is 1, and then the lowest number is 24. And I wanted to get an OP1 so that I could get into this law degree at UQ, which is like a really big university here. So I was just trying my absolute best to like pump out the grade assignments and exams and get good grades and stuff. But then I had a lot going on at home, and there was like a lot going on with other stuff. So it was kind of challenging. But towards the end, I ended up doing really well anyway and getting accepted into the degree. But what's really funny is I turned it down anyway to study film instead.
So as in your senior year over there, do you guys have like prom and all that stuff?
Yeah, we have formal. We call it formal here. So we have that. And yeah, formal was exciting. It was like one of those things to help keep you pushing through. And it was really fun. And then we had the after party and the graduation, and it was like all in one day. So it was like a really big event, which is good.
Oh, cool.
Mm.
Do you guys have like I think it's called a grad night, like where like you go to like a theme park or something like that to celebrate, or?
Yeah, I think my school did. Like, I'm trying to remember. I think they went to like some sort of theme park, but I couldn't afford it because I was not in the best financial situation back in my senior year. So yeah, they did have something like that, but I didn't go.
Oh, what about yearbook?
Yeah, we had, I think we had a yearbook. I just genuinely don't know where it is. But like the yearbook wasn't a huge deal. It's not like these things aren't as like big of a deal here as they are in America per se. But formal is still a big deal. Like everyone looks forward to formal, and it's like a huge thing. But like we don't really have like proms every year. It's mainly for like when you finish school.
Mhm. And During your early years of schooling, in public school and stuff, did you have any mentors?
Um, yeah, I feel like my teachers were really, really great. Like, we had a guidance officer, which was lovely, and really, really great teachers. I think what people need to realize is that teachers and guidance officers and nurses and all the people that are at the school are just there to help you. And once you like lean into that, they can really, really be a great help. So yeah, my guidance officer and my chaplain were like really, really great mentors for me.
Ooh, cool. Yeah, that's a role that's very different from like public schools. We don't have like a chaplain. Tell us more about what a chaplain is.
Um, well, the chaplain does like a lot of the charitable things, but also just like goes around and like helps students in need, like students who have struggles in their home life and stuff. So yeah, it's really just maintaining the well-being of the students and their mental state and stuff like that. Big emphasis
Like
on
the
that.
counselor.
Yeah, but like the guidance officer was more just like for other stuff in terms of like your schooling and you not so much your like mental health and stuff. That was more like the chaplain. So like they had to break it up, and then you had your nurse, which was for like physical health stuff. So yeah.
Oh, cool. Was there any other differences? Like, was there principal, vice principal, stuff like that?
Compared to America, no, we still have principals and vice principals. Everything else is pretty much the same. Um, I mean, obviously, we don't have a cafeteria. We just have like a tuck shop where you can go purchase food if you want, but like a lot of people just bring their own food. And then we don't have like junior high or senior high, it's just like high school in general. So it's like from grade 7 to grade 12. So you have like 17-year-olds mixed with like 12-year-olds. It's really bizarre.
That's interesting. What was that like?
Weird. It was weird being like in grade 12 with a bunch of like short 12-year-olds walking around, and you have to like be careful what you say when you're around them. It's weird. I think your system of like breaking it up, I think is smarter because I just don't think that it's appropriate to have like 17-year-olds meshing in the same area as like 12-year-olds. I mean, they tried to keep us separate, but still, you're all in the same school.
Did they also require you to take like a foreign language?
Um, Only until grade 8. So until grade 8 we had to take a foreign language, and in Australia the main one is Japanese.
Oh,
So yeah, but I didn't have to take a foreign language like finishing high school, so I never did because I'm really bad at learning languages. It just doesn't come to me naturally.
well, so you didn't have to take it, or
No, 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 not after grade 8.
interesting. That's pretty
Hmm.
cool though that they have them do it much more younger.
Yeah. I think it's good though because when you're younger your brain's more moldable and adaptable.
Let's see. So it seems like the timer's finishing up the first one for the first few minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back after this quick commercial break. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host, Rob Flores, and welcome back to the Golden Spotlight. Once again, as protocol, they have us reintroduce ourselves after coming back from commercials. So if my guest could please reintroduce himself.
Hello, I am Luke Alexander, and I am a YouTuber from Australia who does commentary and reaction videos about internet and pop culture.
Oh, cool. So, during this entire time that you were, in public school still, were you like already familiar with like YouTube and stuff? Did you have a cell phone? I didn't get a cell phone till like 11th grade, so I didn't know what it was like.
No, I did have a cell phone, and I did know about YouTube. I was a big fan of it. I actually started a YouTube channel in grade 9, but it was about like playing The Sims. So I was obsessed with that video game, The Sims, and I would like record myself playing it, like doing gaming videos and like let's plays and stuff. But then people at school found it and they made fun of me, so I deleted the channel. Well, I didn't delete it; it's still out there, but it's like all privatized and stuff. And then I knew that I wanted to start a YouTube channel because I had to go on a gap year, even though I didn't want to. And I waited till I graduated high school, and then as soon as I graduated, I started the YouTube channel that I have now.
Hmm. And that would have been so cool if you kept continuing even the video games.
Yeah, I know, but like caved into the peer pressure and like being made fun of. So I just didn't think it was worth it, you know?
What was I've always thought that was so cool. Like I still don't know how do they do it where like you'll see a video screen of the person chatting and then there's another video screen of the person playing the actual footage of them playing the video games. Like what software are people using to do such a thing?
I was using a software, I don't know if it's still being used, called Fraps, and it was like a screen recorder. And then I would just like record my audio with the mic and then just like play it over it. I didn't really show my face.
Oh.
It was like a faceless channel.
But how did they find out though that it was you that was doing the content?
They could probably just recognize my voice.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't remember. It was a long, long time ago. This is ninth grade. So that was like, what now, like 6 years ago. But I just remember at the time being like mortified. And so I just was like, okay, I'm not doing this anymore. And yeah, it was kind of sad, but whatever. You
So
live and you learn.
you took a break from that ninth grade to like after you got out of high school to resume, or?
Yes, but it was on a completely new channel. So the previous one, I don't post on it anymore. And then I started this new channel when I graduated high school to have something to do.
Oh. So as 12th grade is wrapping up, um, usually everybody asks themselves at that point, like, what's next? Where do I go? Did you know right away what school you wanted to go to and all that?
Yeah, I'd already been accepted into 2 different degrees. So you put your preferences in this thing called QTAC here in Queensland, Australia, and then you get offers. So I got accepted into the ones that I applied for, luckily, so I got to choose. And I turned down the law degree at UQ because I decided I didn't want to do law anymore. Just because I did a lot more research into it and just realized that it probably wasn't for me. So instead, I accepted a double degree, a business/film, screen, and new media degree. So that's currently what I'm still doing now, although I've taken a bit of a hiatus because of COVID, because I didn't want to do online school. But luckily in Australia, we've gone back to on campus, I'm pretty sure. So I'll be going back to university next year.
Oh, that is so cool though, the whole dual degree thing. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, I just like really wanted to do film, but I also wanted to have something that was like more of like a practical backup plan. So that's why I chose the business degree as well. And a business degree is pretty broad and open. And obviously, like the degree what I'm doing with film is film, screen, and new media. And new media is like YouTube. So I'm an actor as well on the side. So I just felt like that degree was like all encompassing, where it covered all my bases. It covered my acting, it covered my YouTube, and it covered me as a brand and a business. So I just figured that doing that double degree was really, really beneficial for my career.
Cool. So as you were in high school, you were like in plays and stuff, right?
Yeah, lots of plays, yeah.
When did you decide to try to be part of even like productions like outside of campus?
It was like as soon as I graduated high school, I had the time to be able to. So I was in like a local theater play, and I signed up with an acting agency, and I did some extra work. And then I found some stuff online where I could like be an actual actor in short films. And that's kind of what I've been doing. It's been a slow process because unfortunately acting was never my main priority. It was always YouTube because that's my job, and um and university because obviously that's important. But I am trying my best to like really step it up. But obviously there's been some hiccups in the works, like most careers, like with COVID, a lot of productions shut down, but now they're all opening back up again. So
So as as soon as you wanted to start, with the acting, like how did you know? Like how did you discover like all the terminology or even like about the whole agencies and stuff like that?
honestly, just research. Like, there's so much on Google. You just look up agencies in Brisbane, look at the reviews, email one with your resume and your headshots. Honestly, a lot of it is just research. Everything that I figured out, I've just figured out through research on YouTube and Google.
And so, well, it sounds so intimidating, like trying to get like to become a client in like the agency and stuff. Like, what was that like to, go walking in there and stuff and, trying to get signed?
Um, it was a little nerve-wracking because I was only 17 at the time, but they were really welcoming and nice. And at the end of the day, if you're good, they'll take you because they want to make money off of you. So it was good. And I've actually did a lot of acting classes where I've met a lot of my great friends now. So it's all been a journey with ups and downs, and it's been overall a really, really great experience. And I just signed with a new agency. So I've moved on from the last one and moved to like a new boutique agency just so that they can like focus on me a little bit more, because I'm not just like swimming in a sea of people. It's like just a few people.
And what was it like your first like production and stuff, even just to be an extra?
Yeah, it was really, really cool. My first production, like big one, was Danger Close, which was this Australian war movie. And it was amazing seeing like the giant cameras, and like just they even like had the scene where like a plane was flying over us, and they would just be like, okay, action. Well, before action, they'd be like cue plane, and then the plane would just drive, and like they just had so much money poured into this, and so many different people working on it, and so much different equipment, and like so much time poured into it. It's just amazing, even if you're just an extra, to just like sit back and observe everything. So I've done that a couple times now. So I prefer to spend my time a bit more wisely now. Now that I've done the extra work, I try not do it too much and just focus on like actual roles and acting jobs. But I think for any actor, it's important to do a little bit of the extra work so that you can see the giant puzzle pieces coming together. And you're right, there is like a lot of lingo and a lot of complications, but when there's so many different facets that come in together to creating a film, it's important to like understand that even if you're not a part of it, just so you know what everyone's job is so that you can be respectful of it and just make sure that you're doing your best. But yeah, it can be intimidating.
I think another thing that it took me a while to like not do is don't look into the camera.
Oh, yeah, yeah, you can't do that unless it's like some sort of show like Modern Family or something. But no, you can't just look at the camera.
So what was it? Do you have any particular genres you enjoy to try to be a part of?
I don't like being in comedies just because I feel like there's a lot of pressure to be funny, and I don't know if I'm necessarily like, some people find me funny, but I feel like being funny when you have to be funny is difficult. So I prefer more serious roles, like more drama-esque things. I don't mind horror. Horror is fine, but really I just like drama. Like I like stories that make you feel something.
Mhm. Um, do you have any particular actors that you admire their work?
I admire a lot of actors' work, like the up and coming actors who well, not even up and coming, they're pretty much up now. Actors who I admire is I really admire Timothy Chalamet and Saoirse Ronan. But then, of course, there's, the bigger actors like Kate Winslet, Kate Blanchett, Nicole Kidman. I love Nicole Kidman. Yeah, just a lot of amazing actors out there. It's hard to even list them off because there's so many, but I really am really proud of like the actors that have come out of Australia, like even Margot Robbie. Like they're just all so amazing, and like the amount of effort that you have to put in to make it in Hollywood when you're not from America is so challenging, because you already like there's like a certain list of privileges that you have, and like if you're from another country, you're already starting lower down. So I'm just really proud of like the actors in Australia, and I admire all of them, like Hugh Jackman, Nicole Kidman, Margot Robbie, and Kate Blanchett.
What about what's his name? Heath Ledger.
Oh, Heath Ledger, yes, of course, rest in peace. But yeah, Heath Ledger is amazing as well. He's a really, really great actor.
So what is I'm so curious. What is TV like over there too?
We have your regular soap operas, like you guys have like Days of Our Lives and The Bold and the Beautiful. We have like Home and Away and Neighbours, which a lot of these famous actors that I mentioned before started on. But to be honest with you, I don't really watch TV. I just watch like Netflix or Stan. Um, but TV here it's it's okay. I've just never really been a big TV watcher since I've been older because I'm too impatient to sit through the ads.
And anything different about like the theaters or anything like that, or?
Well, I've never been to America, so I don't know. But I mean, I would say they're pretty standard. They're pretty big.
Oh, cool. I was wondering, are there any misconceptions too, as far as, you know, Australia, that maybe the US, maybe? mm,
I think that maybe there's a misconception that everyone is like the stereotypical Australian, like who's always just like surfing and having barbecues and drinking beer and I don't know, riding kangaroos or whatever. Like, I don't know. I just feel like there's that common misconception that Australians are all the same, whereas like a lot of us are all very, very different and multifaceted, just like how in America, people in LA are going to be very different from people in like Texas or something. So I think maybe America gets the misconception that we all fit into like some sort of stereotype.
How about music?
We've got some good music artists. Like Rule is a really good one that I like. He's an up and coming artist. The Veronicas. Yeah, there's a few, but to be honest, unfortunately, I don't. Most of the artists that I listen to are American. I should really get more into Australian artists.
We're going to take our second commercial break and we'll be right back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Golden Spotlight, broadcasting live from California State University, Long Beach. Well, actually, we are conducting our shows in quarantine style, independently and, remotely recording, but you get what I mean, ladies and gentlemen. We're following COVID rules. Speaking of COVID, I was wondering, how have you, been doing with COVID? What was it like when you first learned about COVID?
Very overwhelming, as I'm sure it is for a lot of people. I've never, in my 20 years of life, lived through a pandemic. So when it first started, I was kind of like in denial. I was like, not in denial, but I was kind of like, is this real? Like, is this for real that this is going to be like a global thing where we all going to shut down? And I remember everyone was freaking out and buying all of the food and buying all of the toilet paper. And I just was like, what the hell is going on? Like, do I need to stock up? Is this like doomsday? And then we went into lockdown and I lived alone and I was just absolutely miserable. In Australia, if you lived alone, you were still allowed to visit one person. So I had a friend who I was just like visiting back and forth, and that was really good to help get me through. But I mean, quarantine was rough living alone, as I'm sure it is for a lot of people. And then uni went online, but I didn't want to do uni online because I'm like, I'm paying all this money. You're not going to make it cheaper, given that we don't have the campus and the facilities, but they didn't. But then, luckily, Australia handled the pandemic really well, especially Brisbane, and Queensland, the state that I live in. So my state got out of lockdown pretty soon, and like for example, now we don't have to quarantine, we don't have to wear masks. There's like no cases in the state, so we've handled it really well, and I'm very grateful for that because I know there's a lot of countries like yours who unfortunately didn't handle it the best and is still stuck in lockdown and quarantine, which is just a pain in the behind.
What was it like when you were hearing about the masks and stuff? Like, is it uncomfortable? Like, what were you thinking?
I mean, if they wanted us to wear masks here, I would. Like, I wouldn't be an anti-masker. I don't think it's that hard to just put a piece of fabric over your mouth. But hearing about America and like all the anti-maskers and like all that type of stuff, to be honest with you, it didn't surprise me because your country has a lot of people who are so polarizingly left or right wing that it's just like kind of typical behavior at this point. Like, I feel like a lot of the times people, including me, just look at America and we're kind of just like back at it again. But I try and remind myself that you guys like us are multifaceted and you have lots of different states of people that are very different. You know what I mean? But I think sometimes like it's like the minority ruin it for the majority. Like most people would be wearing their masks, but there's those few people who don't, and then they just kind of like make the whole country look bad.
And what about the news? Is it depressing lately, or
Oh, I don't watch the news. I don't watch the news. I used to watch the news when this all first started. And then I was just like, I can't do this anymore. It's just too depressing. It's not good for my mental health. So I just, ignorance is bliss, which I know is a privilege. I'm privileged to be able to be ignorant about the news here. I still keep up to date. Like I was keeping up to date with the election. I try to keep informed, but most of the news I get is from like YouTube, like Philip DeFranco.
and so when productions and stuff shut down, what was that like for you? And also, I hear about how like when actors are trying to do acting, like they have like side jobs and stuff. Like, what was that like for you?
I mean, it sucked. It wasn't great to have part of my career put on hold, but I'm very lucky in the sense that like my main gig is being a YouTuber, and that's something that I can do from home. So I mainly just like poured my energy into that because I stopped university and stopped acting. So I just poured all my energy into YouTube. But I do miss those things, which is why I'm coming back into acting and why I'm going back to university last year next year, because I don't like to put all of my eggs in one basket.
So, it's something because when I first started the show, like I started with interviewing students and then eventually teachers and stuff. And then eventually I decided, hey, like how cool would it be to try to reach out to people off campus? But I
Mm,
always felt intimidated at first when I would figure, oh, if this person has more than like a few hundred friends, like, oh, they're not gonna respond. And it's so cool when you just give it a shot and try to see if someone will reply to you. And
mm.
when I'm sure when any stranger sees your YouTube and stuff like that, and they see like the amount of subscribers, they're like, "Whoa! They had time to respond. That's so cool!" Like, what was it like? How did you learn how to like YouTube and stuff, and like how to build? How did you build such a big following?
To be honest with you, it kind of happened like as a happy accident. I didn't really do it in a calculated way. Like I wasn't like planning on like having a big channel. I mean, obviously I wanted that. Like I was like, that would be cool if like my channel grew to the point where it could be my job, but I wasn't like tracking the numbers and like figuring it out. I was basically just making content for fun, making content about whatever I was passionate about. And then one day I was making this video about the rise of romanticizing mental illnesses. And the video just like picked up, like the algorithm just picked it up and it just kept gaining views and traction. And I kept gaining subscribers. And now the video is the most viewed video on my channel with like almost 2 million views. And from that point onwards, my channel just kind of like kept growing and growing and growing. It's had its ups and downs and its plateaus. Um, but yeah, it just kind of happened. And I just kind of was like, okay, this is the type of content that people enjoy. So I'm going to keep making content like this.
Cool. Um, it's so cool, that you build up such a big following. Like I was wondering, like, do you ever though get like maybe like what do they call it? I think they call it trolls. Like,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. What's
Yeah,
that?
I used to get a lot of trolls and haters and stuff, but now I don't. I mean, I only look at the comments from my videos in the first 2 days, and then from that point onwards, I just like leave it. So maybe haters and trolls will come later on, but I just don't notice it. I don't let it affect me really, to be honest. It used to in the beginning, but it doesn't anymore.
So as you started doing more videos and stuff, like how did you learn, like let's say, hmm, the evolution of the process of the videos you made, like let's say for example, maybe you started off with like a phone and then you started getting like more fancier equipment and software and stuff. What was that journey like?
So I invested in the channel pretty early on. After uploading like maybe 5 videos, I bought a camera, and it's the camera that I still use to this day. And then as time went on, I upgraded. Like when I hit 100K, I bought a mic, I bought a light, and then just recently this year, I bought this new desktop computer that I'm speaking to you on now, which I edit my videos on. I upgraded from iMovie to Final Cut Pro this year. Just like little upgrades here and there. And obviously, because it's a business, I can claim them as a tax write-off. But I just think it's important to like focus on the content in the beginning and not so much the equipment. Like I feel like a lot of people get hung up on like, oh, I don't have the right equipment, blah, blah, blah. I know a YouTuber who has more subscribers than me, like 350,000, who still films on their iPhone. So you can do it, you know?
Cool. And was there a certain point where like you started like, well, yeah, you mentioned you don't really follow like the analytics as much, right? But do you like once in a while just check out like, oh look, like these countries are like listening and stuff like that, or
Oh yeah, I'm aware of my demographics. Like majority of the people who watch me live in America, so that's why I post in a time frame that works for them. And I'm like pretty. I tried like I was encouraging people to vote, speaking about the Black Lives Matter movement, even though that's kind of like a global issue. But just like trying to be aware of like the issues that my followers face because you know they support me, so I want to support them back.
cool, cool. And so when you were deciding to go back to YouTube, what was it like when you were like maybe contemplating what kind of material you wanted to start with?
Well, if you scroll down on my channel, you would see that like the majority of the content that I used to make in the past is very different to the content that I make now. It was just like a lot of trial and error until I figured out what worked. And that's what happened when that video picked up and gained a lot of traction. I was like, okay, well, this is what people enjoy. So this is the kind of content that I'm going to continue making.
And as far as the editing software and stuff, were you self-taught or did you take, classes?
I am self-taught, but there are amazing classes on Skillshare that I've taken in terms of like Procreate, which is like an app on my iPad that I use for like thumbnails or lettering and stuff. So there's plenty of classes out there, but for the most part, I'm self-taught or I just watch videos on YouTube.
One of the things I like to do is a segment where it's pretty much a timeline, like, you know, maybe you had a couple of jobs that led to where you are. What did you do? Like, did you like, how long did it take for you to like notice you were becoming a big hit on YouTube, or did you have like day jobs?
Yeah, I did have day jobs. Like I worked two jobs at the time when I was first starting my YouTube channel. I worked at a pizza place and I worked at a grocery store. And then I quit the pizza place and just did the grocery store on YouTube when YouTube started picking up a little bit. And then in August of last year, I quit the grocery store and now I've been doing YouTube full time ever since. So yeah, I did have two day jobs.
And what was that like, to, leave the grocery store and stuff and, just focus purely on your passion?
It was very scary. I mean, I was earning much more on YouTube than I was at the grocery store for a while, but I was just scared that it was all going to go away. And I'm a very cautious person when it comes to money. But then eventually I was just like, you know what? I'm like canceling shifts and not going and like not taking on shifts because I want to focus on YouTube. So I might as well just like do this properly and just quit my job and just decided that I was going to do YouTube full time.
Do you ever get starstruck about maybe getting reached out by like, YouTubers with big followings and stuff?
Um, Not anymore. I mean, most of the people who reach out to me are like quote unquote colleagues, like people who are on sort of like the same subscriber level as me, maybe a little bit more. But like for example, James Charles has commented on one of my videos before, so that was like a big deal for me. And moments like that. But for the most part, I'm like I try to stay very humble. Like I don't think of myself as like I mean, you may look at my followers and be like, oh, he has a lot of followers, but like I don't let it get to my head and affect me in some type of way. And I think what helps is I live in Australia, so I don't get recognized that often. Um, I just like try to stay humble, you know what I mean? And it's pretty easy because I'm still, in my opinion, I'm small, so it's not that hard for me to be humble. But it's nice talking to people and being friends with people who I watched before. And yeah, I wouldn't say starstruck is the right word, but I would just say like it makes me happy when people reach out to me and I can have friends who are like colleagues because it's a very isolating job.
And how did you go about like figuring out how to get your videos out there and stuff? Like when did you learn about like hashtags and stuff like that?
I pretty much knew from the beginning that you have to put tags in your videos to like so that the algorithm knows what's up. But yeah, so it was all just like a learning curve and just watching YouTube videos, figuring it out. But it's not that hard. Like I don't think that YouTube is that hard to navigate in terms of like actually uploading video. In terms of like your videos going out there, it's pretty much just up to luck. Like if you make good content, then it's up to whether or not the algorithm clings to you. But there are certain things that you can do, like make your thumbnails catchy, your titles catchy, make your content really, really good and engaging so your watch time is higher so it gets recommended to more people. So there's some parts that are in your control, but there's other parts that are just out of your control and you kind of just have to accept it, which is what I've learned.
So it brings me to my big question that I always ask all my guests towards the end of the show, and that's what would you like your legacy to be, and where do you see yourself after retirement?
Oh, that's a big question. I don't really think that much about like deep stuff like that, like having a legacy. I just want to entertain people for as long as they'll let me and then move on to my acting. You know, I love YouTube, don't get me wrong, but I don't see myself being like a 45-year-old YouTuber. You know what I mean? Whereas like I see acting as like something that I could do for my whole life. But I'm definitely loving YouTube for the meantime, and I'm going to be doing it for the foreseeable future. And I just want to keep on entertaining people and brightening people's day. And some people have told me that I've like changed their life because I'm a positive distraction and I'm very open about my mental health. So I just want to be an advocate for like stuff like that. And I have a like secret project in the works where I'll be speaking more about mental health. So maybe my legacy can be like destigmatizing mental health and stuff like that. But ultimately, just want to entertain people.
And of course, in closing, I would like you also to, plug where they can find you online.
Yeah, so you can find me at YouTube. You can find me on YouTube at Luke Alexander, or you can find me on Instagram at the Luke Alexander, or Twitter at at Luke the Lunatic. Sorry, all my handles are different. It's confusing.
Well, I want to thank you for taking the time to be here on the Golden Spotlight.
No, thank you for having me, Rob. I really appreciate it.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes this episode of the Golden Spotlight. Until next time, folks, remember that you can you can catch the episode if you missed it. Well, then again, they heard it, they're watching it, but you get what I mean. If you want to go back and listen to the show again, you can go to my blog, robfloresmedia.com. Until next time, folks.